Hazel. Wheeling.
Here.
DeBrus.
Here.
Meyer.
Here.
Kraus.
Here. Sorry. And we have the minutes from January 13th, 2020. Is there any corrections or changes? If not, is there a motion? So moved. Motion made. Is there a second? Second. There's a second. Any questions? Roll call.
Missouri.
Yes.
Wheeling.
Yes.
DeBrus.
Yes.
Meyer.
Abstain.
Kraus.
Yes. The clerk is informed me she has no report. Would anybody from the audience wish to address the board?
Yes, sir, Your Honor.
Mr. Miller.
Yes, sir. I'm here for Orchard Development, to represent the Orchard Development, answer any questions that you may have. We're requesting from the mayor and the board to add another liquor license to develop the 436 Dixie Highway in Beecher, Illinois. I live in 222 Fairway Drive, Beecher.
To give some history on this, we've been working with this petitioner on this project now for about a month and a half, I would say. Probably 3 months. 3 months. And he first came and asked the mayor for liquor license, but of course, the board capped the number of licenses to the existing number that we have issued. So any new petitioner has to come before this board and request that the ordinance be expanded to allow an additional license. So that decision would be the board's to make. It's not on the agenda tonight because we didn't know until the last minute whether or not the petitioner was going to be able to present tonight. He was told to bring in a new drawing, which I see he has done here. The information on Orchard Development is here, and I believe I sent this to you via PDF as a supplement to the board packet on Friday. I guess we can't vote on it, but what you're asking for is a consensus of the board to authorize the village attorney to draft an ordinance expanding the number of alcohol licenses that can be consumed on premise by one.
Yes, sir.
That's what you're asking for?
Yes, sir,
tonight.
correct.
So that is where we're at. We had issues regarding sprinklers and
Yeah,
all sorts of
that's the
things that we worked
challenges.
through. The size of the building was originally
Yeah.
9,000 and it was down to 5,000.
Some kicks, but we kicked back, so.
Right. And he's prepared to answer any questions you may have regarding the project, about his business plan, about the uses in the building as we move forward. At this time, it does not appear he needs anything from the Planning and Zoning Commission. It is zoned for that use. If he does wish to have a beer garden or something later on, it would have to go to the Planning and Zoning Commission for the beer garden use.
So basically, the only change to things were the difference in the floor plans,
Yes.
and also within the square foot.
Yes, ma'am, correct.
You should emphasize something that I don't know if everybody knows, is at the time that he submitted his first set of paperwork, he did refer to the Economic Development Committee for review. So they have seen some of this before, and this is the gentleman that I told some of you about 3 months ago.
So again, I mean, is it just the square footage, why the rendering changed between then and now?
Yeah, it was considerably a lot. You're talking almost 4,000 square feet.
Less?
Yeah, less, yeah.
So does that change the main use of the building?
No, our main use was always to be a higher-end wine bar with a little live entertainment for people my age, because there's nowhere for me to go in the area, and I'm new to Beecher, I've been there 5 years. And also to do food, and we can do food in that square footage. We're gonna lose the pro shop, your supply store, which was part of the build-out, if you see the old drawing, if you have it in front of you. And we're really downscaling as far as the other amenities that we're offering, but the nucleus of the business plan still remains the same.
And as far as like the billiard tournaments, I think, that were talked about in the beginning, I know there aren't a lot of pool tables here, is that still something?
Yes, ma'am,
you're
we're gonna
thinking
still
about?
be able to do leagues like the APA, ACS, and things of that nature, but to bring like a grand scale tournament with the square footage due to the size of a pool table, people don't realize you need 15 by 20 for one pool table. So it takes up a lot of square footage, and unfortunately, we lost a lot of that square footage. I had spoke to Mr. Barber about potentially, down the road, maybe adding 2,000 square feet to it to be able to accommodate a league room. It may be something we may entertain doing while in construction based upon board approval and permits and things of that nature. So it's not out of it right now, but I wanted to come to you transparent. You see what we're gonna do, and we're gonna, over deliver.
And then the sprinkler thing, did you guys ever, based
Yeah.
on the
Well,
reviews, is it
it's
still-
hard to do it until we have an actual blueprint.
Gotcha.
And the use groups and the uses, and we tried to do it off the original diagram. Area D in the new diagram, do you know what the square footage would be in area D?
Sure. Let me just get my glasses out. The main room's gonna fall about 1,800 square feet, not taking into consideration the bar area.
The bar area, the stage, the
Correct.
billiard tables?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, that's gonna be pushing it. Because our main focus, we have to have a full-service kitchen, we want a full-service kitchen, that takes the square footage, you have to be accounting all those different utilities, walk-in coolers, fryers, code, all those things, so we don't wanna skimp and not have enough room.
What are we looking at for capacity for this thing? Like parking and stuff like that, I mean, is it right next to residential?
In order to avoid sprinklers, his main area of assembly can only be 1,500 square feet or less. They assume one person per 15 square feet. And that's the formulas you see on this chart here that we tried to produce for you last week. This was based on the 5,000 square foot building at that time.
So I know initially when this was kind of brought up to us, just what our consensus was, there was rumblings of possible breakfast and lunch.
Yes,
Is
ma'am.
that,
Yes, ma'am.
so this would be family friendly as well?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. We're gonna do a double spin. We're gonna market, I mean, there's no breakfast here, let's be honest. I go down the street, and we wanna bring in tax dollars here, especially seeing I'm living in Beecher, tax dollars would be a big help. So we're definitely gonna market the breakfast. We don't wanna compete also, it's not town-friendly to come in and try to compete with businesses that have been there a long time, so we also need to know our lane. Right now, we're not really competing with nobody at breakfast. Lunch will be soft, 3 o'clock, then the market's open for the residents and the other businesses that have already been here. And the Princess, who's gonna compete with the Princess? Nobody's gonna go after them. So we're gonna do a tapas style menu at night. 7 or 8 different unique blends of food and switch it up on a daily basis. I believe what keeps restaurants viable is having selections. You can't have the same menu every single day, you lose that market, so we look at trying to be a little bit more creative.
Okay. So being that it's family friendly, is that then like evening time when it becomes more entertainment, is that gonna be like where kids would be
We're going
capped?
21
or-
older after it, if not older, yeah. We're really trying to market 30 and older. I started in business a long time ago for the kids, to give them a place to go. So I really don't want to alienate anybody, so if you have a son that's 16, 18, and you want to come in and play a game of billiards, we're going to try to market towards that as long as the village's approval to have aged people like that in there with the liquor. So I don't think that'd be a problem, but we're really trying to market 30 plus for the after hours. And the entertainer's going to be 40 plus, so.
Now, this is a metal building, correct?
It's a pole barn metal structure outside, but a pole barn structure inside.
Okay.
Wood frame.
How would it do with, as far as noise? Because you're talking about having bands in there.
Not bands, sir. We're talking acoustic sector. You're talking about somebody coming with a mic and a little speaker. We're not doing big subs and a boom, boom. It's not gonna happen. That's not our even avenue of entertainment. And I don't think anybody in this room, we're all probably close to my age, wants to go hear heavy metal. It's not really what I wanna go see. I wanna see a piano, maybe a dueling piano, an acoustic night, open mic, karaoke, things of that nature. But the whole building is 5/8 drywall, so that's gonna give you some soundproof as well.
How close is that building to the lot line in the back? I mean, how many feet are there?
25 feet probably.
I was gonna say 20.
20, 25 feet?
You mentioned dinner, what were you gonna do for
We're
dinner?
gonna do tapas style.
What is it?
Tapas, small plates of different varieties of food, probably offer a different menu daily or weekly, and 10 different items, so if you wanna get a little, they're creative like dishes, like a salmon, you may have a salmon with a little sauce on it, a little size, but they're small portions, you usually come and get 2 or 3 tapas versus a big dinner. And, you know, honestly, a lot of times people are making more money on appetizers than going out for appetizers, especially after not 8 o'clock. They're all full from Princess, we gotta market towards what our market's gonna be.
Anybody else? Questions? John, you have any questions?
No.
Anybody else have any questions?
So what would?
Have you done this, before? I mean, have you had a restaurant, have you had billiards?
Yeah, I've been in, I've been in billiards for, about 27 years.
Okay.
So I retired, I've been out of it for about 5 or 6 years. My father was murdered, I kind of took a step back. But I was doing billiards, restaurants, actually we're doing a coffee bar too. I have a $10,000 espresso machine, fully automatic, and we're gonna incorporate that as well. Coffees, lattes, smoothies, I actually went to school for that, believe it or not. Probably the only school I went to.
So he would then have to come back with, before we could figure out everything else going on with blueprints, et cetera, or is that
Here's the
just-
process. He can't get out of the box unless the board's willing to expand the number of liquor licenses. So that's the first step that we all agreed to take, whether or not this board would approve the expansion of the number of liquor licenses. If you do, there's still not 100% guarantee that he gets that license. Okay, but it's the first step. You got a closing coming up pretty soon on the building.
Yeah, the bank did not give us a luxury of a lot of time, so we're trying to press everything with inspections and doing our due diligence and following your criteria. So that's why I'm here today, actually just cold calling to try to get the ball moving, so we know that if we do buy the property, which we're excited to do, and redevelop the building's been sitting there for years and is 40 years old, bring life back to it, which there should be life to it. We want to know that we have a future. It's going to be very expensive for us.
So to further answer your question, is he has a lot of hurdles to go through yet. Health department, building department, and even that, one that comes before me, if in fact you do decide that you want to expand the licenses, there still can be conditions placed on that liquor license. One, for instance, he's saying no bands, we can say no band over whatever you want to call the quartet, or two people or something like
Or
that.
no over.
Something over
Sure.
that line. Can
Yeah, I think one of our bands would be like a 3-piece, they do like a acoustic set, that would probably be, we're not doing a 5-piece drums and all that, no, not happening. No problem. Big comedy too, I really wanna do comedy.
I guess I'm not opposed to it in theory. Reading through some of your stuff, even some of the keys to success says diversity of services, and you already, I know it's not your fault, it's advertised.
Yes, sir.
Square footage and area to cut the pool, some of the pool hall and stuff out, and outside clientele. How do you plan on getting those people from, the outside to come to Beecher? Because let's be honest, we have a limited population here.
Sure.
They are good at supporting local businesses, but you keep your business open on just our residents alone?
I don't think that would be a smart business plan. We have to do our due diligence to market and develop it. Now, Irina, who unfortunately could not make it here, Mayor, I apologize, she had an emergency. She runs multiple dentist firms, and she cannot leave without the doctor, so she really wanted to convey her apologies for that. But she has a master's in finance. She ran the government finance for the president, underneath the president, and her main goal is, what she does is marketing. That's her big side. She brings in all those social media, things of that nature. This is a very unique concept, and we're using quarter sewn oak, 3-inch fluted trim, custom-made carpet out of Georgia. This is going to be, I think when you come in there after 30 days, you're going to go, wow, we didn't expect this. We're going to take it to an upper mature level environment, and people will come here because of what we offer. Now, you have to have good food. You can't just throw a burger on there or a hot dog and say we're at a restaurant. That doesn't make any sense. We're going to have the best of the billiard tables are $9,000. The lighting's $1,000. Just for one area, you're looking at $10,000. Top of the line stuff. Leagues, APA, BCA, ACS, do you have those out here? No, but you have pool tables. Why?
Those are, so I can't say.
Exactly, and you know what, you will in 6 months, because those people are like us, that work all day, they join a league, if they win, they go to Vegas, and it costs $7 a night, and they come out, 4 o'clock, they wanna eat, have a few beers, play pool, and then go home. It's a social event, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, it's a big night for pool. 2-3 tables is all I need to market that, so that's not a problem getting that going. Wine? Can you get a bottle of Camus around there? Earthquake, Story Point? No. We're going to go. Someone that sells it. Is there a market for it? Medium income, $70,000. Why isn't there a market for it? I drink Camus. I'm not a millionaire. I like Camus. I like Story Point. Not that the other places, not to put any bad spin on anybody. I'm not here for that. I just know what I like. So I saw a need in the market out here, living out here now, and I feel like that we can bring people from other communities to support and get the tax dollars. Y'all go to Smoky Joe's. Why can't we bring them here?
Just out of curiosity,
Yes, ma'am.
we do have a lot of gaming in this town as well already. How pertinent is the gaming area? Would that be, an option to maybe expand your pool tables if you didn't have gaming?
If we're not competitive with the market, there is no motive to do that. Now, there's 9,700 gaming locations, and almost every restaurant and bar has it. And to take that away, it's like opening a wine bar, not saying we can sell wine. It would be conducive. Now, the gaming is probably gonna be less than 10, maybe 15% of sales, because we're not going to be a gaming cafe. But if you come in, you wanna have a glass of wine, and you wanna play the slots, it's part of it. It's just unfortunately part of the nature of the beast. It is what it is. Even like now, it's gonna be marijuana. Who knows where that's gonna go? We're just gotta feed off what the government dictates. And if you don't ride on the bus, you're riding on a little yellow bus behind it.
How does a cigarette lounge?
Cigar.
Or cigar, how does that go with a restaurant? Because, you know, we have
Separate room.
non-smoking here, you can't smoke, so how, is it a separate entrance?
It has to be. The cigar rooms are really not village ordinances per se, it's really based on the cigar and tobacco law, and they have their own guidelines. And they're gonna either give you a license or not, and you have to be a standalone. So at that point, I'll work with Mr. Barber and the mayor and whoever else I would have to work with to get a zoned address for a cigar room. I'm not a big cigar smoker, but I like cigars. And I wouldn't mind having a nice patio, go out by a fire pit, have a cigar, or sit inside those. Now, the rooms you're talking is only this big, it's not like gonna be like a, you know, it's perspective of everything, so it's not gonna be crazy, but a lot of their friends I know, a lot of politicians, they all like cigars. Now, maybe somebody in the room here likes a cigar, I don't know, raise your hand, you do, give me a vote, huh?
I'm assuming even though it's a separate room, it will be like well ventilated.
Oh, that's the key to the cigar room. If you don't have ventilation, then you might as well not have one. A lot of women, I would say probably 15 to 20%, if you do your demographics, there's women, like classy women dressed up like yourselves, they're there having an espresso or coffee, ironically, you wouldn't believe it, I've done my research, and they're having a little, they love the little lady cigars, there's only 3 of them, or 4 in a cigar room, but it smells. That's my biggest complaint is ventilation. So yes, absolutely, that's top of the line.
Consensus?
The cigar lounge has to be operated by somebody else, it can't be in conjunction.
It cannot be, you can't like walk out through this door and to another entity. That would not be a standalone. It has to be a standalone entity. And it all is gonna fall under, they're gonna come out and inspect here and say, well, you can or cannot do it. Pretty much how it falls in line. Yes,
If you're
ma'am.
looking at an outdoor fire pit in the future, what side of the building are you looking at doing?
We're looking at doing on the, I apologize. Again, the left side of the building would be the south side. There's a grassy area that's doing nothing but
So
growing
right
babies.
next to that
It'll be right
residential
next to it,
area.
we're gonna put up a fence, a non-see-through fence to the housing area for respect for them, we're not gonna be putting out outside speakers. And we're gonna do a black iron 6-foot security fence on the outside, because we're not big on handle liquor over the fence. So we gotta watch out for security, it's a big thing when you're looking at liquor.
It's our belief that that would require a special use permit, would have to go with the zoning board.
That part would, yes, any outdoor consumption of alcohol has to go through the pieces.
I understand, whatever you say we have to do, we do.
And that's step 2, that's not what we're dealing with tonight.
Yes, sir. Completely understand.
Consensus?
I'm okay with letting it proceed. I mean, any of the rest of this stuff will have to go by code, et cetera, but,
Yes, ma'am.
you know, I'm not opposed.
Yes, ma'am.
Tyler? We'll back up.
I agree, Marcy. Wanna go for it?
Jack?
Yeah, I'm for it. The building's sat vacant for how many years?
Long time.
You have somebody that's come here and they're interested in redoing it. I think he's got, I mean, my personal opinion, I think he's got some things to possibly tweak with what it's gonna take to draw people in from Beecher to it. I'm with you.
Yes,
I enjoy a cigar, I enjoy a glass of wine, my
Yes,
wife
sir.
enjoys a glass of wine.
Awesome.
I think you got some challenges there. I love the idea for it. I hope it works, but I mean, at the end of the day, this is about the development of a piece of property that's been vacant for over 7 years.
Yes, sir.
How many liquor licenses do we have right now? Is he-
Full sheet.
Is he asking for a full or a
He's
beer
asking
and
for-
wine?
He's asking for a
Full license. Yes. We like to do martinis too, because I think that's a grown-up drink, and we're gonna probably feature 70 or 80 different martinis. Especially beers, martini, and wine. We'll probably have 50 to 70 different bottles of wine to choose from all price ranges. we're not gonna be, you don't want a $20 bottle of wine, we'd love to service that, and then have nice martinis. But cost-efficient martinis, well, we wanna keep ourselves in a peaceful cost market out here.
I don't believe, if you wanna go back, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, go back several years ago, I don't think we've exceeded the licenses that we did have way back in the day.
How many restaurants open up that don't have them?
Nowadays, no, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kinda, if you go with, and that's one of the things we heard about in our comprehensive planning was new options for dining, right? I mean, this is something the guys bring to us, I mean, the liquor license kinda unfortunately goes with it, I mean, I can't, you walk into a little taco shop nowadays and you could buy a beer there, I mean, there's not many restaurants, I can't think of any restaurants that don't serve alcohol. So,
Heck, unfortunately, even like little, what is that, Chuck E. Cheese's, they're selling
They're
alcohol
going
now,
out.
which is sad, but they are.
I agree with you.
Especially the fact that you are opening it up to breakfast and lunch and that, you know, families can go there for a certain amount of the day. I'd like to proceed and see where it goes.
I would love to have the opportunity.
Today, a couple of things, he asked, talk about aesthetics, which I think you might be happy with, which will improve the building, but again, until we get the plans, we won't know.
Yeah.
He has talked about,
Oh, it's gonna be a full.
other different things, like I mentioned to you when I talked to each one of you, that there were enough there, I think that would spark your interest, and that's why I said that he can come before the board, we just have hopefully comes along the way, that's all. So I think consensus of the board is to direct the village board, the attorney, to go ahead and create that, and then that'll be approved at the next meeting, assuming, I shouldn't assume anything, but hopefully it'll be assumed at the next meeting, so you cross the first hurdle.
I appreciate that, and everybody, and my phone number is 24 hours, if you have any questions, feel free to ask, I have no problem answering this.
Then I would definitely come to the next meeting if there's questions that come up.
And
One
that's-
question
On the 9th?
no intent.
Sure, no problem.
Yeah.
I live right down the street, I have nothing to do but build a building, or rebuild a building, that's, needs building, so.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take
Best of
care.
luck to you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the audience wish to address the board? Sir, you want to say anything tonight?
No,
Are you just visiting?
I am.
Well, we appreciate you here.
Yeah, I just moved here. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, under my report, real quick, I know we're gonna skip to the Public Works Committee's report, if we have the extra room here tonight. This changed a little bit. As of today, we received a certified letter from the railroad, Unity Pacific Railroad. And the way Bob and I read it, they have agreed to everything that we agreed to as far as the quiet zone, which is a very good step in the right direction. The engineer has not had a chance to review it, nor have we had a chance to get a answer from him on can we at least proceed at this point. The only other step that we know of is the Federal Railway Administration, who was out here, and to be quite honest with you, he was in agreement with everything that we were going to do for the quiet zone. So I'm not expecting any more hurdles, but this is a very, very big step. Just a couple other things real quick under my report. On February 7th, at Idlewild Country Club in Homewood, there was a legislative breakfast from the South Suburban mayors and managers. If anybody's willing to go to, please let me know so I can sign you up. And I think that's all I had. With that, trustee first.
Right, presentation of Class 1 wastewater treatment plant permit and compliance due by September 1st, 2020. Before we can apply for the new permit, we have to be in complete compliance with all special conditions placed on us on March 1, 2018. When we applied for the permit to construct the Class 1 facility, is that with the concessions we made with the Sierra Club? These special conditions were not in the original permit to operate in 2015, so they're complicated, they need to be explained, which is why I'm guessing Nicole's here.
And it's gonna cost a lot of money and they need to explain why.
Ready? Ready? Okay, well, this is gonna be a little bit of a departure from billiards and tapas, but I hope I can make things clear for you. So, let's see. Okay, so hi, my name is Nicole Schaefer. I am the Environmental Department Manager at Baxter & Woodman, and I have helped out Beecher in the past, behind the scenes, with your NPDES permit. That is the wastewater treatment plant discharge permit. And I'm going to walk you through a little bit about what's going on with the special conditions in your permit that you have right now. So, what's this about? So, as trustee Kupro said, you had to agree to certain conditions in your treatment plant permit, discharge permit, when you applied for your IEPA loan funding. And so the Village of Beecher does have to comply with your discharge permits. And these special conditions that were added, again, this was partway through the permit cycle. It's a 5-year permit cycle. These were added partway through. And these conditions are required by all major treatment plants in Illinois. So here's the 30,000 foot view of the first 2 special conditions. Why are they in there? Well, due to the anoxic zone in the Gulf of Mexico that's attributed to by nutrients, that is phosphorus and nitrogen, that are discharged by wastewater treatment plants, also by agricultural runoff, it's all going into the Mississippi River and out to the Gulf. So the US EPA has pushed on IEPA to say, hey, let's get a grip on the phosphorus in Illinois. So there's 2 special conditions regarding phosphorus in your permit. The first one, special condition 15, is the phosphorus feasibility study. This is the what-if scenario. So what IEPA wants you to do here is look at what treatment plant improvements must be made and what those capital costs are in order to meet a 0.5 and maybe down to a 0.1 milligram per liter concentration of total phosphorus in your effluent. So this is the what-if scenario. They want to know how much this would cost to get down to those levels. The second special condition is the Phosphorus Discharge Optimization Plan, or PDOP for short. And what this is what can you do now to your treatment plant scenario? And we have to look at 2 things. One, we have to look at what sources of phosphorus in your collection system, where is it coming from, if any, and can we reduce it? Can we replace chemicals, cleaners, that kind of thing to eliminate phosphorus? That's the first part. The second part is what can we do to the treatment plant and tweak the operations to reduce phosphorus? Now, in the effluent. So that's the what can we do now. And the whole upshot of these 2 is for the state of Illinois to gather this information from all dischargers, all major permittees in the state, so they can collate this information and say, hey US EPA, it's gonna take this kind of effort to get down to those levels, just to have some sort of negotiation and information later on down the line when and if those limits are ever imposed upon major dischargers.
And these sources of phosphorus, they're basically metallurgy plants and things of that nature that
It
generate
can be
phosphorus, correct?
all kinds of sources. It could be car washes. It could be industrial sources of waste. And so it could be all kinds of places. It depends on who's doing what in your system. And this is tied to the next special condition. So the next 2, the last 2, before I get to the last one, the special condition 20, the disinfection equipment, this is the easiest one of them all because it's already done. All we have to do is write a letter. This one was the Village of Beecher had to install disinfection equipment in the wastewater treatment plant, and that was already part of your plant upgrades. It's already installed. It's just that there was already a compliance schedule in your permit to report on different phases of that process, and we have to turn one. I'll get to the schedule in a second, but it's already installed, so all I need to do is write a letter and say, boom, done. And the last one, special condition 22, is the industrial user inventory and pretreatment activities report. Yes, it's a mouthful, but it's really not that giant of a project for the village. The upshot for this one is under the Clean Water Act, there is a whole Code of Federal Regulations 40 CFR 403, which is the industrial pretreatment regs. I deal in that realm all the time. However, outside of federally mandated programs, so there's wastewater treatment plants all over the country that have industrial dischargers that send industrial waste to the treatment plants, right? They have federally mandated programs. What's happening is in industrial wasteland across the country, there are thousands of industrial users who are rogue, that are not controlled by a discharge permit or a control mechanism. So what US EPA is doing is asking the states to put into their discharge permits to all major dischargers outside of industrial pretreatment programs to identify and classify industrial users. That's what they want. So lucky for Beecher, you don't have that much of an industrial base, but we still have to abide by this special condition, do the inventory, write the report, and say, here's what's going on in Beecher. We have X, or we don't have any at all. So that's what this is for. Now, one of the bonus features I call, you get it's a 2-for-1. So the project, we have to send out an industrial user survey to dischargers, non-domestic dischargers in town. Well, not only can we get the industrial information on this survey, we can ask users about phosphorus and gather that information for special condition 16. So we're getting a 2-for-1 with this survey. We're gathering information at the same time. So that's what I call a double bonus. Now let's talk about the schedule. So we've got, for the phosphorus studies, they are not due until March 8th of 2021. So there's time, but they are, these are not quick studies. It's not like you can do them in a month. I mean, it takes a little bit of time. We also need to work with the village to agree upon what do you want to commit to in these plans, at least for the optimization. That's not something that can be done overnight, so I really don't want to start those in January of 2021. We can talk about that, the next steps in a second. So those are the first two. Now, one little caveat on Special Condition 16. There are annual reports that are required, due on March 31st every year. Now, there's only one more due in this permit cycle, because your permit is expiring in September, but it's going to be renewed. We won't know what the language is exactly going to say in the next permit cycle, but I have seen in other permits where that annual report still stays until that special condition is gone. And it's really small, that annual report. It's not a big deal. It's just say, hey, here's what we're doing according to our plan that we're creating, or here's what we're going to do to put our plan in place. It's really, really easy, but that will come back every year. Now, Special Condition 20, the disinfection equipment. The construction portion of the compliance schedule is due in just a couple months. But 20 is already taken care of, so we can knock out both lines of Special Condition 20 in one letter, boom, done. And then the survey, the industrial user and pretreatment report, that's due March 8th, and we need to jump on that one right away. So what are the next steps? Again, like I said, for the pretreatment and inventory, the industrial user inventory, we got to start on that now. And again, Special Condition 20 for the disinfection equipment, we're ready to roll, write the letter, boom, knock it out. For the phosphorus studies, I think it would be, my recommendation would to be start no later than the beginning of your fiscal year. We don't have to start on it now, but I think there'll be enough breathing room for time to get them done if we start sometime after May 1. And then, just as an aside, Baxter and Woodman, we're currently assisting the Village of Beecher under a separate project for your MPDS permit renewal, and we're working with you now to get that turned in, and we will be able to work with IEPA on the special conditions that we can expect to see in the next permit cycle. So we'll have a little bit more foreknowledge of what's going to be in your permit, and we can be a little more proactive for anything that's coming down the line instead of reactive and waiting till you get your permit. So that's just so you know, I've got my hands on the wheel here, and I have a really good working relationship with IEPA. I know I've been working with the permit writers and the water quality people for years. So,
Is having 28 special conditions typical of a permit?
for a major, yes.
It is.
Yes. So
It
you.
seems like a lot of staff people down there in Springfield just adding stuff to the base permit.
No, it's all of this stuff is coming down from US EPA and pushing on getting knowledge about the nutrients, because that's what's driving all of this. this, is nitrogen or phosphorus.
And they had a gun to our heads, if you want the $10 million loan, you gotta agree to these.
Right, and you guys are playing with the big boys now, so these are big boy permits, and, that's the reality of having being a major discharger. Now, let me back up a sec. I had a thought, now I forgot. I believe I've answered, I believe I went through everything. If I remember, I'll say something again. Now, any questions, I'm happy to answer anything, and I don't know about you, but sometimes at the end of the day, my brain is full too, so.
What about the prices of these things? You have a slide on that?
Indeed, no, I don't, it was in your packet, and actually, I reduced the cost. We're talking 62,775, because I tweaked the number after we spoke.
Okay, in total.
In total, yep,
The reason we tweaked the number is they had a predetermined number of industrial users, which
we were able
we
to
determined
cover.
was significantly less than the predetermined numbers.
That's because we didn't know who they were until we talked to you, so.
Who do you have?
We actually identified only 9.
Laundromat?
Laundromats, the
Car
car
wash.
washes, the businesses in the industrial park that are manufacturing, like Children's Plus, Dutch American. The Young Equipment got one, because that's a big mechanic facility. That's
We-
about it.
We won't bill any of this till after June first, you know, that's fine.
So we would budget for this next fiscal
But if it's okay with you all, there's the industrial user inventory that has to get jumped on now, because it's due the 8th of March.
year. But what Ray's just said is,
We can,
we can do it,
No,
but
we'll
bills
do
for
it.
it next
We're not
fiscal
gonna
year,
bill
it's not in the
anything.
budget.
We won't bill anything till after June
Right.
first, so.
right. Is June 1st, whatever your fiscal
May
year
1.
begins.
After, it'd be June 15th for May bills.
I heard you won't bill for anything.
Oh, I know, here.
Thanks, Ray.
And I went over 1 minute, I'm sorry.
That's why
I-
you ain't penalized.
I know what I was gonna say. So, just so you guys know, 15 and 16 are one-time reports, except for the annual report that's gonna be in the permit. So, the big costs are gonna be knocked out, and you won't be asked to do them again. It'll be the small updates. Also, the 20, just, special condition 20, that's a small letter done one time, and then special condition 22 is a one-time thing as well.
Another interesting thing too, as far as the phosphorus, we have until 2024 to meet our operating permit conditions. So we don't even plan on using alum in our treatment process till about 2023, and start tweaking the numbers according to our sewer operator. So we actually installed equipment that we don't need yet, but we know that as usage, as plant volumes go up, we're gonna have to use this equipment, but we've already got it in play. for the
And
next 20 years.
and being a major permittee, most major dischargers in the state of Illinois either have monitor only weekly or several times a week, or they already have a 1.0 milligram per liter total phosphorus limit imposed on them. So, it is coming, being a major, a phosphorus limit is coming to you at some point, and this is where it's going, so.
But that's why we have the
Yep.
alum, chemical, the belt press and all that stuff, because we can handle it.
Yes,
Phosphorus.
you are fully geared and operational to do biological and chemical phosphorus removal,
Alright, I got some questions now.
for sure.
Alright. For these special conditions, do you have a breakdown on the price? I mean, you throw us a price of 62,775. How much is for the regular permit renewal?
Right.
How much is because of special condition 15? How much is because of special condition
It should be,
16, 20,
it should be
22?
Was, that spreadsheet's in your packet.
Okay. And then my next question is with
Did you have
special,
out a new letter tonight, or is that in the original?
I have
with,
a new
I
letter.
don't see a breakdown. Somewhere else.
so with 22, what happens if you gain a new industrial user mid-permit? If the permit's 5 years?
So, here's the deal with special condition 22. This is the updated one with the updated fee. It doesn't have a line by, or it doesn't. go. So, you're asking about the industrial user survey. So here's the deal with that. What we do is, we turn in what we have now. It's a snapshot in time of what industrial users you have in town. Now, my experience with industrial treatment is, normally, we don't see municipalities getting an industrial pretreatment program imposed upon them unless you have at least 2 significant industrial users. Now, right now, from our preliminary screening the list of who's in town, I am not worried about any kind of industry you have in town. There's no one raising any flags with respect to being a categorical industrial user, with respect to being a significant industrial user. And I'm throwing out all these terms. Now, what is an SIU? A significant industrial user is an industry who discharges at minimum 25,000 gallons per day of industrial waste. So not just domestic, but like industrial, process waste, that is. Or they contribute 5% of the hydraulic load to the treatment plant, or 5% of the organic load. There's no one in town that looks like that. Okay, based on water records that we've already screened and the industrial user list that we've looked at. I don't see anyone who qualifies as that.
So again, my question though is, what if you get one mid-permit?
Well, that is something we want to work with Public Works on. All municipalities in the entire state of Illinois need to keep tabs of who's coming to town. So that is something in industrial wasteland. If you do not have a federally approved pretreatment program, then it's actually up to Region 5, US EPA Region 5, to permit that user. So that should not be your responsibility, okay? As a wastewater treatment plant, you own the treatment plant, that's supposed to be up to Region 5. That should not affect the fee. So this is we're doing this a one-time report, we send it off to EPA. If they never say anything and say, hey, you have to have a program, if they never tell you that, then that's it.
Okay, so you don't need to redo, if you get new industrials, next permit, you wouldn't need to redo your inventory list?
No, as far as I understand, that is a one-time special condition in your permit. So it's in this cycle, once we turn it in March, that should not be in there again.
So basically, once you get approval, then it becomes just a renewal? This is based on getting an initial approval, and then okay, that's fine, whatever.
What he's asking is, you don't do this report every 5 years.
No,
Okay, that's all we need.
Even if you get a new industrial user?
not unless someone raises a flag with Region 5.
Okay.
I took the long route to get there.
Bigger discounts if
Is there a simple way to explain why it's the feasibility study is a $36,000 study? I mean, is it time, is it equipment, I don't really know what all goes into this.
Right, and the wastewater side of the house works on those. Now, so, let me just, if you don't mind looking over your shoulder here. I think I gave away my, or did I? Well, no, so, what's interesting is the phosphorus feasibility study and the discharge optimization plan kind of go together and they overlap. And that's why it's 35. If we were to eliminate the PDOP, the optimization plan, this would be more like 28. But because we have to do both of them, that's why the fee's a little bit more. They kind of go together. We have to understand, I know we designed your plant so it shouldn't be as hard, but we still have to look at all the options to take what you have, we've built now, what exists, and extrapolate out what other processes do we need to add to the treatment plant to get down to the lower limits. And that takes time, it takes estimating, it takes resource finding, and this is actually a combination of both the feasibility study and the optimization plan. So that's why it's around 36. Does that make sense?
No.
Nothing else, Jeff? Thank you very much, we appreciate it.
Thank you for your time and consideration.
Josh, go ahead and finish your report.
Water and sewer pumping, billing and treating report for 2019 is enclosed for your review. One thing that's a concern is that the gallons bill is trending downward every year, to the point that the 10% increase each year for water and sewer departments is not keeping up with the rate of inflation. Staff says there's no immediate concern for this at this time, that this trend needs to be monitored. Again, I disagree. Brought it up at how many other times. Just, all we've done is kick the can down the road. Based on this, it's just more continuing kicking the can down the road. So, it's something that we need to discuss at budget time again and make our decisions and
All right, boss.
decide how long we want to kick the can.
Budget question, or,
Well, it's,
why is there no immediate concern right now? I guess is, you have one.
I've stated my concerns on this. I mean, it's stated as numerous times.
Well, that's not that much.
So I guess the question would be for staff as to why.
When is it a concern, I guess is my question. When does it become a concern?
Well, John, I believe, wants to raise rates for water main replacement. There was never a discussion on raising rates for operations. And this gallons billed has to do with the amount of funding you need to fund operations. We have a sewer plant out there, we don't know what the costs are gonna be yet. We just found out in the last 30 days, it's another 60-some thousand to get the permit into compliance. So we don't have a handle on costs yet.
For some of the discussions we have is we're not kicking the can down the road, we're waiting to see what the actual operations are gonna be so that we know for a fact what they're gonna be. And I thought we had to postpone this until we heard about the replacement, is part of it?
Well,
Replacement.
I brought this up. I mean, I understand what Bob is saying. That I pushed for, and when I brought this up, was an increase for water main replacement. But I also brought up last year when we did our 5-year, right? That I felt that the 10-cent rate increase went back to a ordinance that was passed. Scott, help me out, because I think you even told me, because this isn't this last 5-year plan we did. It was in the previous one. And I think you told me that even went back to before your time here. And it's just the fact that labor cost increases, material cost increases, utility cost increases, the 10 cents doesn't cover that. We've surpassed that. The 10-cent increase. And it kind of goes back to numbers that we talked about at the last meeting. You know, at the time, a 10-cent increase on what may have been $1 was a 10% increase, right? Well, if it's $5 now and you're still only 10%, or 10 cents, you're not getting 10%.
There's a law of diminishing returns on this.
It's just, it is what it is. It's something that needs to be.
You'd be better off tying a percentage to it as opposed to a dollar amount, yeah. But I think it was done at the time to simplify it for the residents, say your rates are going up a dime a year on each. I think that's why they did it back in '97. It was about the year you started, Scott. It's been in play that long.
But I guess we can monitor it, but yeah, Todd, I guess, to your answer to your question is it kind of does tie with the budget because those are numbers that we're using to project our revenue for those two funds, and our expenditures, so.
Water usage is going down.
Absolutely, you have more efficient faucets, you have, the more efficient toilets, the shower heads, everything else. Your washing machines, your dishwashers, everything's.
And we haven't added a lot of new customers to the system either.
No. Hopefully Marcy's report Anyway, I think it's something we're not gonna address tonight, but it's something we need to address, so we'll bring it up in committee and bring something to the board. Gould Street Water Main Project Update, village administrator has asked the Will County Governmental League to intervene in the village's behalf to see if we can get the project funding, pushed along. We're in a unique project that is ready to go, where most of the other projects haven't even been designed yet. Hopefully the shovel readiness of our project will help. I guess we could even report on the fact that you just sent a letter or email today to.
Yes, because I found out through the governor's office that they're not going to intervene right now on member initiatives because there's so many of them. If you push for one, you gotta push for them all. So we have to go through the member. So that's what we're gonna do, we're gonna go through the member to see if we can get this thing off the ground.
And my last item is consider authorizing payment to IHC in the amount of $479,500.30 as a progress payment for the Beecher wastewater treatment plant upon receipt of the IEPA loan funds. So I'll go ahead and make a motion authorizing payment to IHC in the amount of $479,500.30 as a progress payment for the Beecher wastewater treatment plant update upon receipt of IEPA loan funds.
Motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
Any second, any questions? Roll call.
Kraus,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Capros.
Yes.
Whalen.
Yes.
Zerk.
Yes.
Thank you. Finance and Administration Committee, Trustee Meyer.
Consider a resolution adopting a drug and alcohol policy for village employees, which now includes cannabis. The policy was drafted by Illinois Municipal League, vetted by village attorney and staff, and given to the unions for their review. It needs to be adopted by the board so that regulations of the use and possess of cannabis can now be included in the policy in conformance with state law. The attached policy is enclosed for your review. So,
That's it.
okay.
Okay, that'd be 2020-1. 2020-1.
I will make a motion to adopt resolution number 2020-1, to adopt a drug and alcohol policy for village employees, which includes cannabis.
Motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a second, any questions? Roll call.
Zerk.
Yes.
Whalen.
Yes.
Capros.
Yes.
Meyer.
Yes.
Kraus.
Yes.
Concludes my report.
Public Buildings and Property, Park and Recreation Committee, Trustee Whalen.
Okay, we had our first meeting on the splash pad on the 15th of January. By the next meeting, we should have some type of a rendering. I've been working with him to try to get some different arrangements. So I don't have anything to share right now, but it was a good meeting, and I'd like to progress with this and keep it going. So in 2 weeks, we hopefully will have a rendering.
Do you have a location selected yet, or are you still kind of tossing a few?
We're talking
Options in there.
about Fireman's Park, right along the walking path. There's that concrete pad on the west side, right next to the creek. It's gonna be a perfect spot for what we wanna do, because it's gonna have the water there, it's gonna have the drainage there, you know, and everything else. So it's got the parking there, it's in the middle of town, so that's kind of what we're talking about. That's it.
Planning, Building and Zoning Committee, Trustee Mazur.
Thank you. So basically the results of the first PZC workshop on the issue of fences. Well, some are not happy that this is brought back to them, I'll just say that. Basically, we are going to have a public hearing, February 27th, at Washington Township regarding it. Some of the things that were discussed is the 5 foot versus the 6. At first, it seemed like they weren't too happy with that, but then it seemed like they started thinking 1 foot isn't that big of a deal. But I think that the biggest argument or debate, I should say, is gonna be the privacy fence versus having slats because of aesthetics. And some really don't like the idea of the privacy fences and how it will look in the town. And people who moved here for that home feel and not having walls up. So we shall see. After the public hearing, they were given the option that they don't have to vote that night, so they could take that next month to decide what they wanna do and talk about it at the next meeting. That's all I have for now.
Public Safety Committee, trustee Coe.
Thank you. Consider a motion declaring surplus property, 2007 Ford Expedition. This EMA vehicle has been taken out of service since it is beyond its useful life. However, it still runs and is operational. So I make a motion declaring surplus property for the 2007 Ford Expedition.
Motion made, is there a second?
Second.
There's a second, any questions? Roll call.
Kraus,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Caprows.
Yes.
Whaling.
Yes.
Zerk.
Yes.
Laraway Communications Board of Directors meeting scheduled for Thursday, January 30th. The village administrator and I are attending as delegates, and the bylaws are again under consideration for a vote. Committee meets to discuss code enforcement program for 2020. This meeting was held last Thursday, and a proposal will be brought for discussion at the next meeting. Basically, the committee met. Our collective was that it should be moved out of the police department and back into the village hall where it used to be. But it's more of a budget issue, 5-year plan, we need to talk about it, since the money's coming from general. And that's all I have.
Thank you. And moving on down to Economic Development Committee Relations Committee, trustee Meyer.
The committee is to consider having an open house for potential residential builders. The open house could also include local realtors. Presentation could be held on the properties available for building in the village, as well as the swift and inexpensive building permit approval process. The village has already had some interest in vacant lots in town from some builders, but only one lot here and there. We've also been advised that Nantucket Cove will be auctioned off in blocks of lots instead of the entire subdivision sometime in March if it does not sell by then. We don't have a date for when they're gonna do that, or? I suppose we'll probably do a committee meeting, but I might talk to you, Scott, and, when would be a good time to do it. I'm thinking March, but possibly end of February, I don't know if that's too early, so.
And Tom Wagner said he would just put it together.
So, I can do a committee meeting and we can kind of kick around some dates of what we'd like to do.
It could be more of an open house than a presentation too.
Right.
You know.
No,
say-
not a super formal kind of.
No, just like an open house. with,
Yep.
People walk around.
Sesquicentennial update, the committee's working on booking a band for the street dance on Saturday, July 25th.
Actually, that's now changed, which you have that band, recall what the name was? April's Rain?
April, yeah,
April's Rain.
April's Rain, something like
That
that.
band is now booked.
Okay, excellent. We need to set a time for the street dance, and did we set that? Did we set it with the band?
That needs to be discussed. The band is open whether you go 6 to 10 or 7 to 11 like we always do.
Okay,
That, I don't necessarily need it right away, but I can email the guy whatever you decide to.
okay. Since we're gonna include food vendors, Tony's Pizza wants a booth, so we'll, figure out which time we're gonna start, 6 or 6:30. Events are also being planned for the Beecher Lions Club Summerfest on Saturday, August 1st, including a skit on the stage by local part-time players, a huge birthday cake, a laser light show at 9 p.m., and history book on the past 25 years is also progressing. Public unveiling of the book should be around 4th of July, and $17,000 has been raised to fund the printing of the book, with any remaining funds being used to fund the rest of the celebration. And the outline of the book is enclosed, and everything has been pretty much set. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any old business come before the board? Any new business?
Just for the benefit of the audience, the Public Works Committee will be meeting after this meeting.
I do new business. There's been people posting on Facebook about the HGTV show. I was trying to find the name of it. It's not one of the many HGTV shows I watch, but where they want to do a makeover of a town. It's kind of a long shot, but they're gonna pick a town of less than 40,000 population that needs work with either parks, old downtown area, and they wanna basically make over an entire strip, buildings, residences. So in order to submit an entry, they says video is a great idea, but otherwise photos and some kind of why you are excited about your town, why it's a great town to live in. So I actually was gonna go around and do some photos and do some iPhone video this weekend, and the weather is so dismal, I didn't think it was a great idea to do it. But I wanna go through downtown, the Bookmeyer building, show some things we've done. And again, they don't give you much room, it's a 500 megabyte video you can submit, which isn't, I don't think a lot, I don't do video. The photos, you don't have a lot of space to upload photos, but they basically just want an overview. And again, this is gonna be nationwide, so it's really, you know, it's.
Yeah, but the Chicago market's a good,
Well, it
attraction
is,
to
and,
them.
yeah, and I mean, we're really nice and small, so it's a, you know, a biteable chunk to be able to come in and make some things over without having to do like, you know, a 10-block downtown area. And Todd was actually talking with EMA, they've got the drone, that maybe we could do some kind of video that way with the drone of some of those downtown buildings, so. And you had somebody we might talk to.
Yeah, actually, you reminded me, tomorrow at 4 o'clock, the videographer is going to be here, making a film of the village and the village hall and so on and so forth for the census. And he'll have to be here if anybody wants to come and see what kind of work he does. I was impressed because he has actually a teleprompter and everything.
so you're gonna be a TV star.
I didn't want to bring that up because now I'm going to get heckled in the crowd, so.
Greg's going viral.
And then one other thing, Friday, I received a call from Lacey's, and they have a beer and wine license, they want a full-blown license. It's a pleasure.
So we would have to expand by
That's
two,
why-
not one.
Yeah, if they're gonna do it, that would be the time.
They have beer and wine now.
Pardon me?
They have beer and wine
They have
now.
beer and wine now. And you would have to create this one as well.
What food do they serve?
I haven't been in there for the menu, they should be serving food, I have not had a complaint otherwise. Have you been in there and tell me something?
I've never been in there, no.
Yeah, they were serving food, yes. They have to serve food,
Mhm.
so. The one question that the committee did have was, there were some code violations, and I just got an answer now, that since the fire department lost their inspector, they haven't done a follow-up to see if they complied with the inspections. So, my opinion would be as liquor commissioner, if you decide to do this, that I wouldn't issue it unless those code violations were repaired. That's one thing.
What are the code violations?
Pardon me?
What do they got?
I'm sorry, who's asking the question?
I am.
I'm sorry. It was basically blocking exits and an exit sign.
They had a refrigerator in the hallway.
It's something that we fixed once and then it returned back. It's more of, not of Lacey's, it's more of the landlord. And it's actually not blocking an exit, it's advertising an exit that actually doesn't have to be there. So that sign just has to be taken down. And he was cluttering in and around the electric panel in the back.
Wasn't there, yeah, there was a door that said exit that just led into.
Another door.
Yeah,
Back room or
but-
something?
But by code, that door doesn't have to be an exit, so he could take the sign down and comply with it. We made other suggestions, so on and so forth.
Don't you think that these should be done before we make a consensus? Or
Pardon me?
shouldn't they be done before we?
The only
make a
thing is
consensus?
that you have an attorney drafting an ordinance for the other one. I don't want to have to go back. And like I say, as a condition of issuing that license, it's a 50-50 deal. If we don't issue the license, then we're going to have to abolish the license, I guess. I don't know. I'd hate to see the ordinance be recreated. And, or the other thing would be to use, I suppose we could ask the attorney to make 2 different drafts. And then between now and then I'll get an answer.
Well, we can make it, we can have, make it two, and then we can change it to one at the night of the meeting.
Correct.
And initial it, that's what we can do.
Right.
That's good.
Consensus?
Yeah, it's a draft, I mean, I would say draft it for 2 and then,
We'll have it finished later. Either somebody will go over there and take a look themselves. They have a new inspector starting Monday, so we'll have an answer by then.
Well, and I brought this question up, and it's, what's Lacey's concern, what's the, I mean, I don't wanna hold Lacey responsible for something the building owner's not doing. But I do remember there were issues with them, and they weren't readily fixed, we'll say. Yeah.
One of the things was in fact fixed, they wanted ballards around the gas meter, and that was in fact done. So that was the most major thing of anything, and that's been done. So anything else is minor, can be all done in a day. All Ours?
I would say do the two and we'll, we can,
Okay, we all agree with that, do the two, we can change it at that time. All right, that's all I have, anything else on the new business? Your motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion made, is there a second?
Second.
Second, any questions? Roll call.
Kuzerick,
Yes.
Whalen,
Yes.
Caprows,
Yes.
Meyer,
yes.
Kraus.
Yes.
Thanks, everybody.